so impressive when it works. Okay, time for round 2 of the Pauper challenge. We are playing against Dr. Worm, who we have played against 3 weeks ago, I think, as our winner in for the top 8. And I think he pretty much always plays is a Delver, as has been pointed out by MTGBot. And usually a super grindy matchup and super close games, though once again a recurring trend. My current sideboard, which is geared towards beating the other tier 1 decks, is much improved for this matchup and is much better than it was the last time we faced. Now I have serrated arrows available to me, and those pretty much destroy Blue-Red Delver. The downside though is that I no longer have Battle Screech in my main deck, and that is also a card that destroys Blue-Red Delver. I think this hand is a keep, but it's pretty awkward. Basically I need my Faithless Looting to resolve, and if my Faithless Looting gets Spell Stutter Sprited or something similar, I could be in trouble. Because I am a little bit flooded, a little bit low on interaction. I don't think running out Thraben Inspector turn 1 is worth it here necessarily. It basically only is useful if my opponent has Augur of Bolas as a follow-up, and then I still get the opportunity to resolve it on turn 2 and block their Augur. And blocking the Augur is important to deny an early ninja hit. Okay, so nothing played, and now they have Spell Stutter open, so I think I prefer to run out my Prophetic Prism, which both sets up for a value Glinthawk and dodges my opponent's Spell Stutter Sprite. Getting the... oh no, they got Island. Huh, they got Island? But played Mountain. That's kind of strange. Usually you want to play Island, and then only play your Mountain on turn 3. Oh, this is awful though. Now they increased their fairy count to a potential 2 with the Spell Stutter Sprite, and there's nothing I can really do against it at the moment. So any of my 4 available plays would be countered by a Spell Stutter. So I can either accept that fact, run out Thraben Inspector, let it get countered, then run out Glinthawk afterwards, resolve my Glinthawk, have a Glinthawk against their 2 1/1 flyers, but then I'm super weak to my opponent just bolting my Glinthawk, or I can do nothing with my turn, just get hit by this Fairy Miscreant for 1. If they put a Ninja onto the board, then their fairy count is back at 0 and I can Journey to Nowhere the Ninja. I think I prefer that slightly. Wait, I'm discarding the hand size though. This was not actually that good. I guess I can discard the Prismatic Strands, and that sets up my Glinthawk really well. Maybe this was actually good. I'm not sure. I don't think I like playing anything into the Spell Stutter Sprite because it's incredibly telegraphed by my opponent and makes my opponent's life really easy. And drawing any of my 9 1-mana burn spells makes my life a lot easier as well, because then I can play into Spell Stutter Sprite and still interact with it. Augur is unfortunate though. Counter spell revealed. Yeah, I don't like the way this is going at the moment. Okay, that's kind of useful. They can counterspell this, but I don't think I particularly mind, and now I think I get this fairy off of the board, because now I can resolve 1-drops. If they Spell Stutter my 1-drop, I get to Galvanic Blast it. And I run out Thraben Inspector first, because it's the card I less care about getting counterspelled, and the card I less care about getting hit with Scrat or Lightning Bolt on. I think I played this pretty nicely. Not to toot my own horn too much, but Yeah, I think I navigated around the spell setup pretty nicely and got the better of my opponent there. Because they still, even though I put a lot of work into playing around the Spellstutter Sprite, they still decided to go for the Spellstutter Sprite instead of the Counterspell. The Counterspell in their hand is still going to be annoying. But hopefully my Faithless Looting can improve my draw. If they have a second Spellstutter Sprite, it would be very awkward. But I think now it's the time for Faithless Looting to get rid of these excess lands and draw myself into some more balls. Potentially. Okay, dump these lands. Faithless Looting just amazing. Don't think there's much of a point into playing into their counterspell, so I don't want to cast my Glinthawk right away. I can either just crack this Clue or flashback this Faithless Looting, because I do have 2 cards in my hand that I'm willing to discard. Thank you, Walrat. Yeah, I assumed that was autocorrect. Makes a lot of sense. So they have Counterspell in their hand and no other cards that we know about. And I really do want to resolve this Glinthawk. And I guess flashback Faithless Looting. I don't think they have a Spellstutter in their hand. And I don't mind this getting counterspelled. Yeah, this Faithless Looting is so great. Now I have two prismatic strands that I can both flashback when my opponent tries to kill any of my creatures. Casting them out of hand is not particularly good in this matchup, but casting them out of the graveyard still offers some nice value, especially when you're trying to keep your flyers alive. Second counterspell is very annoying for me though, because now it's going to get difficult to get this Delver off of the board when my Glinthawk isn't resolving. Okay, that helps a little bit. Still have to hope to overload my opponent's counter magic. Guess I'll try for this Palisandros because I'm fine with it getting counterspelled. It's a little bit of a liability if my opponent doesn't counterspell, but I do have double prismatic strands to go with it to potentially just give protection from blue or like damage prevention from blue. Sure, that was kind of the goal here. And then Galvanic Blast this Delver. I guess I could have played this land to play around both Daze and Mutagenic Growth. They're unwilling to counterspell that. Now they will likely counterspell my Glinthawk. I guess, I mean, it plays into my opponent's cards pretty nicely, allowing them to use this counterspell this turn. The upside is that I play around top deck Spellstutter Sprite by casting my 1-drop when I know they don't have one. Yeah, I think I'm running it out into the counterspell. Just because Spellstutter Sprite top decks are very annoying to me if I am stuck with a 1-drop in my hand. And now I can just like take the time to crack this Clue, take the time to recast this Prophetic Imprisonment. We have a stable board here. My opponent will likely end up stuck with some combination of Ninja of the Deep Hours and Lightning Bolt Scrat in their hand because they are unwilling to cast the Lightning Bolt and Scrat into my Prismatic Strands. Okay. And Ninja is just unable to come down. They would have to hard cast it, and it's pretty awkward then as well because they don't get value out of the bounce and don't get value out of the first hit. Seems weird for them to tank here. They would have to have the third counterspell bolt in response. I think I don't mind that. The prismatic strength seems better for me than keeping my 1/2 alive. I guess if they have another burn spell, if they have Scrat here, it's pretty annoying for me. Because then I have to tap my Palace Sentinels to prismatic strength this Scrat, and then they get an attack through. No Scrat. Nice. Okay, then I like my spot. Then I like my spot quite a bit. Guess I want to cast this first to see if I can draw a lightning bolt or something to protect against my opponent's Spellstutter sprites. Okay, now I'm willing to run out this Threadman Spectre because I have a more important 1-drop available to me. Now I have a flyer as well, so that it couldn't just flash in Spellstutter sprite end of turn, and probably passing with mana open is like slightly better, because I can crack the clue if I want to draw a card, and it allows me to draw into Lightning Bolt, Galvanic Blast against any kind of combat shenanigans my opponent might be trying. Obviously they don't have Spellstutter in their hand this turn, which is what I was not talking about with the Glinthawk, but if they top deck Spellstutter on a later turn, then they can potentially flash it in and threaten to steal the Monarch from me, which is pretty annoying. Okay. Yeah, I think the crucial turn of that game was like turn 3 or 4, where I had to decide, I guess turn 2 or turn 3, where I had to decide whether I wanted to overextend in the Spellstutter that my opponent was clearly representing. I guess both turn 3 and turn 4 and turn 2, all of those. And then I baited my opponent into casting the Spellstutter on the turn where it was beneficial to me, when it was very clear that they had one. So I want these 8 cards to come in. Prismatic Strands are pretty weak. Palace Sentinels you can cut down on a little bit, though I think the number that I usually prefer to have in my deck still is 2, though I've seen people go down to 0 as well. Zen's Enlistment is not that great. Sometimes you want this type of card so that your opponent doesn't run you out of threats, but I think Reaping the Graves already covers that problem pretty well. But it is just difficult to make enough room in the deck, because journeys become better after sideboarding because your opponent brings in Stormbound Geist quite often. Faithless Lootings are awkward against your opponent's Spellstutter sprite, but they also help you in not flooding out in the mid game. I often cut some number of Thraben Spectres, but they do still do a reasonable job of stopping Orgraf Bowlers, so you don't have to really worry about Orgraf Bowlers enabling Ninja of the Deep Hours. So they do have their benefits as well. Yeah, not quite certain yet how I'm supposed to board in this matchup, now that I made these changes. I guess I'll try something like this. But it's possible that cutting some number of Thraben Spectres and keeping my Faithless Lootings is better. The Thraben Spectres enable Reaping the Graves nicely though, and this is my win condition. And I guess this is also my win condition. And this might be too many Electricries, though in some game states Electricry can just be amazing. Opponent is usually boarding out Delver of Secrets and bringing in like Stormbound Geist, Annul, maybe Hydroblast. This looks like a mulligan. Sadness, because the hand was pretty amazing, but double bounce land obviously not a functioning mana base. And this hand's pretty nice. I do want a burn spell for this hand, but I guess the Ancient Den kind of fits pretty nicely as well. And if I end up flooding out, I can still cycle this instead of playing it. I guess Gorilla Shaman is a reason to not want this Ancient Den. I think Gorilla Shaman is pretty overrated. People just shouldn't have it in their deck to begin with, and also it's not as good against Boros as people think. But if you're against specific hands, it can sometimes turn out to be strong. I guess I will actually play this and not play any of my cycling artifacts, because this best protects me against Stormbound guys, though it is pretty apparent to my opponent that I'm trying to do that. So even if they do have Stormbound guys in their hand, they might slow roll it for an extra turn and like wait for Dispel or Hydroblast protection. The other upside is that I don't get to get ninja'd here. So Ponder, they liked one of their cards. No, they chose to shuffle, so they liked 0 of their cards. Third Island, sure. Sure, now I don't have to mind this Augur at all, because I know it isn't enabling any ninjaing. But my next turn is a lot more awkward from the way that I played it, because I can't really develop any of these without losing out on value. I mean, I could tap out for Glinthawk now, but that makes me vulnerable to the Stormbound guys that I had previously respected. Yeah, I guess so, when I can make sure this resolves. It does make Ninja a lot weaker for my opponent as well, because they do have to first deal with the Glinthawk and then spend pretty much their entire turn on getting it onto the board. Then I can just untap and either play another blocker that deals with it favorably or Pyroblast it down. Yeah, I don't love the way this game turned out, but it... Not sure. Okay, that's even better for me, because I get to hold on to the Pyroblast for now. Do I need an untapped land next turn? I think I actually do. The cycling land is decent for the ability to cycle it, but I think I want to have Serrated Arrows and Pyroblast protection for it to get my Serrated Arrows through my opponent's counter spell. Yo, Matrix. Yeah, they get to Augur me here, and that sets up for Ninja again, which is unfortunate. Revealed Ponder. Though I guess I just resolve Sky for sure. Maybe off of this. Both is awkward, because I want to bounce the Prophetic Prism in case this resolves. And then I end up with no double red if I don't recast it. If I cast it like this, I end up with double red, but then, yeah, probably this is just better. Because I can't pass the turn with double red is basically the point if I bounce this. Okay, they just let me have it. Sure. Has to be decent for me. I think I'm willing to recast it. I don't have Metalcraft either way, so I don't really have the ability to get Augur off of the board, and with this I would have to Pyroblast it. Yeah, I guess I'll pass with the double red open. Pure Value Town Is it the exclude delver? Or like delverless delver? I think to go pure value tone you have to play 0 delver of secrets, which I'm a fan of anyways. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I like that version a lot more than the stock version. You're boarding on delver in every matchup anyways. Yeah, exactly. That's the MV Love Bow version, right? I think that is better than the stock version. He accepts the reality that Delver of Secrets just isn't that good in the deck. Yeah. So I think now I have to fight over this Augur so that my opponent doesn't have a Ninja Enabler. Okay, fight over this Augur as well. Please just spell stutter me. That would just be way too convenient. Counter spell. Sure, I'll fight over that as well, then untap and kill their Augur, and then they have a Ninja stuck in their hand. Okay, so I think passing with double red open worked out pretty nicely. Now this Augur could attack, but my opponent was already tapped out, so there wasn't any Ninja action attached to it. Resolving arrows would be nice here, but I can't really make sure that happens, because then I don't have Metacraft and I would have to let my opponent keep this Augur, which I'm also not comfortable with. This is the turn that they get to resolve Stormbound Geist, if they have one, but this makes their ninjaing very awkward. I guess I boarded out Faithless Lootings, right? I was considering whether I should hold this land or not, but I guess without Faithless Looting in the deck there's no reason to. So just jam all my lands. Yeah, Tron is not particularly popular in the leagues. No, there's the Stormbound guys that I had pointed out they were going to be able to resolve now. But I do still have a reasonable setup for beating it with my own core Skyfisher and generating some value here. Have Pyroblast open for Ninja. And I guess I'll pass like this again, rather than running this out, so that I can Pyroblast the Ninja and then Electricry a potential Spellstutter Sprite. Yeah, the game has not played out perfectly just because this Stormbound Geist window of opportunity opened itself up to my opponent. They've been putting pressure on me every turn with the potential of a Ninja. But I guess here the bounce just doesn't get any value, so it's still kind of nice for me. I could have stopped their attack with Alchemist Vow. But I think Pyroblasting that now. And then they get to recast their Stormbound guys, but I guess stopping the draw is still better. If they Spellstutter me, I have Electricry, yeah, exactly. Or I guess I can let this happen and kill both of their creatures. If I Electricry here, I kill both of their creatures, and they don't draw a card. Yeah, that's just better. Because I could untap Arrows the Ninja and then Electricry with Overload, get rid of both of their creatures. This is weaker to Dispel, but I guess untapping and trying to Electricry on my own turn is also weak to Dispel, so it doesn't make a big difference. Okay, that worked out nicely for me. They do still have the Stormbound Geist in hand, which is a huge annoyance, but I can still try and find a journey. And it is not a particularly fast clock. They still take another turn to get it down, and then it only deals 2 a turn to me, so. Okay, cycle. And I think I'll just resolve the serrated arrows now that my opponent's tapped out, so that they can't annul it or something, or counterspell it. And this makes my opponent's spell stutter sprites and fairy miscreants completely dead for the rest of the game, so I only have to worry about Stormbound Geist, basically. Top deck my last Pyroblast, yeah, that would be nice. Yep, you got it. That is a little bit of an issue. Okay, that is my answer, but right now it would just get counterspelled, so I think I'll be a little bit patient with that, and hopefully my opponent fights over something that is not worth fighting over. I can also cycle through my deck now and try and look for a Reaping the Graves, and that just also wins the long game for me. Okay, so they're patiently holding open their counterspell, which is alright. This still stops me from ever getting spell stuttered, so sure, I can tap out here. They can ninja me, but then I put a -1/-1 counter on the ninja, untap and do it again. They get a card out of the deal, but it does slow them down quite a bit. Scrap my birch, or yeah, this is the only creature in the deck that the arrows can't really deal with, because if I -1/-1 it down to, I think I want to take the damage here, like 2 damage here instead of 1. I could try and reduce the damage, but then they can ninja their ninja back to their hand and hit me for 2 regardless, and I lose out on this counter. If I'm leaving combat, then they can no longer bounce it. So I think that was worth doing. I take 1 extra damage to make sure that the counter lands here instead of them having a second ninja. Yeah, that's true, you can halve the clock. Okay, this is not going to work out for my opponent at all, because I do have the second arrows. I guess they figured that they can try and keep this ninja alive, but even then, a ninja against 2 Thraben Spectres is not a particularly promising prospect for this 1/1. I guess I can start attacking even, because I do have this backup. I just have to make sure this doesn't get to the blocker step unblocked, but if they kill my Thraben Spectre, I just kill their ninja before they get to the blocker step, so they can't ninja it back to their hand then either. Yeah, I think game should be pretty won by now. I have the Journey in my hand, and the Stormbound guy still takes quite a while to kill me, so yeah, you got it. I just need to get this through my opponent's potential counter magic and the game ends. Thoughts on Thraben Spectre, and I can even raise it as, yeah, just make it a 1/1. Don't worry about killing it, though my opponent can try killing it with their own burn and then have it come back as a 3/3. It's not completely unreasonable. But yeah, raising it as a 1/1 is not impossible. Jimmy Colorado, thank you for your follow. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I will patiently hold on to this until I can make sure it resolves. My opponent's last card could be something useless, but it doesn't really matter to me all too much, and if it is a counterspell, I get a huge reward out of holding this. Yeah, once again, I can now freely make my land drops because I no longer have Faithless Looting in my deck. Though it would be great in these types of spots, I could have already held some lands and then basically gotten like a full draw 2 out of that. Okay. Though making it into 1/1 leaves me vulnerable to my opponent's ninja. But I think I'm alright with doing this. And then just raise with Inspectors. Evolving Wilds, yeah. Opponent is pretty crushed, and without Ninja, Augur, Engine, my opponent's deck doesn't have that much card advantage. They have like 2 Gush to work with, but not much else. Yeah, I think I'm willing to attack with all and then just use a counter on the ninja. Sure. Closes out the game a little bit quicker. And I go back to ignoring this Stormbound Geist. But yeah, ignoring the Stormbound Geist definitely leaves me in a slightly weak position against Ninja of the Deep Hours. I guess time for Journey. Yeah, okay. Their last card in hand can easily be like a 1 toughness creature that they're unwilling to play into my arrows. And if it's counterspell, trading for it is not the end of the world. I guess they can bolt their own creature now. Okay, but then I just bolted, like bolt the 3/3 that they get out of Undying. It's not that bad for me either. Once again, this should have been played. I guess holding this one has some merit because it dodges Gorilla Shaman. If I don't have all my artifact lands on the board, I can play the artifact land out of my hand at a later point and use it to get back to Metalcraft. But I guess being denied Metalcraft is not going to be too big of an issue here. Yeah, Serrated Arrows, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty good card. Pretty good card. Yeah, they are down to 1 card. Yeah, there's just not a lot my opponent can do to get out of situations like, oh, they come prepared for the Reaping the Graves. Good for them. Serrated Arrows OP for sure. I mean, it has some liabilities, it's pretty slow, but against all the top decks, like in the tier 1 against tier 1 matchup, Serrated Arrows is just bonkers. God damn it. The timing. Nice relic. Opponent clearly ghosting the top of my library. Well, they will have to deal with all these Thraben Spectres at some point, and then I'll still get some value out of the Reaping the Graves. But that was pretty funny. The relic right before I draw my graveyard card. These. Yeah, I had to make some slightly unintuitive choices there to navigate around Spellstutter Sprite and Ninja. But I think I'm pretty happy with how I piloted that. All these Stormbound Geists resolving while I was tapped out with Pyroblast in my hand felt a little bit bad. But I made it work somehow. And Arrow's just insanely good. Insanely good.